What's up, guys, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. As the Blue Jays offseason winds down, there are still a few moves that the Blue Jays have to make before we get to spring training. The reality is right now, folks, the Blue Jays, they are running out of room on their 40-man roster. And if they have any intentions in adding one more big bat to that Blue Jays lineup, they're going to have to cut somebody. And the problem is, the Blue Jays, they have so many quality players that are major league ready and a lot of good prospects that they want to protect. So it looks like the Blue Jays are forced to make a move that we weren't expecting this offseason. I don't know the future, so I'm going to give you my best prediction on what that move is going to be in this video. Before we get into it, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Blue Jays Today. Let's get into it. So as we know, the Blue Jays have signed Yariel Rodriguez, and he's going to be joining the team anytime soon. But first things first, the Blue Jays actually have to cut somebody off of their 40-man roster in order to make room for him. Now, on the pitching side of things, the Blue Jays have a lot of flexibility on guys they can cut, so there's really no issue there. Whereas on the position player side of things, the Blue Jays are pretty stacked. And like I said, if they intend on adding Jorge Soler or a JD Martinez or a Jock Peterson or another sort of bat to kind of help out this Blue Jays team, the Blue Jays are forced into a very tough decision. When you look at the position player side of things on the Blue Jays roster, it's pretty darn good. Like I said, tons of major league ready players and a lot of good prospects that they would want to protect. The only player on the Blue Jays roster, if you just looked at it and you would go, oh, this guy would be easy to cut, would be Ernie Clement. But here's the problem. It's not that Ernie Clement is easy to cut. It's that his role on the 40-man roster is hard to get rid of. His role on the 40-man roster is to be that sort of taxi squad player. A type of player that you're more than happy to use and burn those options when you're sending them down to the minors, back up to the majors, down to the minors again. And you need those players because why? You're going to have a ton of injuries happen during the regular season. You're going to need guys to come up and fill in the bench role or maybe even come in and play a few games for the Blue Jays. And you obviously don't want to be using your options on your prospects. You want to protect those guys for as long as possible until you either trade them with all those options still intact, or you bring them up to the major leagues with options available in case they struggle. So where I'm getting at is if you go out and you make one more move with a Jorge Soler or a JD Martinez or something like that, and you want to cut Ernie Clement's spot in the roster, well, now you're forcing the Blue Jays in a tough decision where they now have to start using some of their prospects like the Otto Lopez's and the Leo Jimenez's of the world to become those sort of flex roster spot type of players. And while yes, they could totally do that in theory, but now you have a problem with the 26-man roster. Let me explain. Looking at Fangraphs, they have projected the Blue Jays bench for the 2024 season with the current guys on their 40-man roster. As you can see here, you've got Spencer Horwitz, who as of right now, unless they go out and get a first base kind of guy, he will be the backup first baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays. You've got Santiago Espinal, who's actually found himself in a pretty tough role for the Blue Jays, being kind of the third man on the totem pole for roles at second base and third base. You've got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who we know is going to be locked down, playing a big role for the Blue Jays this year. And then of course you have what we've been talking about as this taxi squad type of role in the 26-man roster, which right now is Otto Lopez. However, if you're bringing in a big bat this offseason, well, the easy guy to cut here would be Otto Lopez out of this mix. But now you're stuck in a tough position. If you have to make a call up for the minor leagues or send somebody down to be that taxi player type of guy, who are you going to do it to? Well, looking at the way the roster is constructed, it would be Santiago Espinal. I don't know about you guys, but Santiago Espinal is a little bit too valuable of a player to be using in that sort of taxi squad role. So what I think could realistically happen is the Blue Jays are going to try and find a trade partner for Santiago Espinal. Time for a quick shout out to Betway. Betway is the best place to make all of your sports bets on all of your favorite teams. Betway is also in collaboration with iGaming Ontario. Must be 19 years older to participate. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content. Like I said earlier, you could make Otto Lopez or Leo Jimenez that type of role that can come in and play Santiago Espinal's type of role on the team. An infielder with some little bit of versatility. It's going to be cheaper for the Blue Jays to use those guys rather than Espinal, who's on his arbitration years right now. So I think they should go find a trade to maximize their value of Santiago Espinal's contract rather than using him as some sort of taxi squad player. A very similar player in recent Blue Jays history that he kind of reminds me of is Rowdy Tellez, who was kind of finding himself between the minors and the major leagues for the Blue Jays, but he had too much value to just be that type of player. So what did the Blue Jays do? Well, they traded him over to Milwaukee Brewers for Trevor Richards, and look what he did. He hit 35 home runs in 2022 for the Brewers. And like I said earlier, guys, I don't know if this is actually going to happen. There's a lot of dominoes that need to fall into place before this sort of trade happens, like bringing in a new bat for the Blue Jays. But if this happens, I could realistically see a trade where Espinal is sent the other way. I love Espinal. He's been a great Blue Jay for a while now, but I think it's better for the Blue Jays to do this, and honestly, it's better for Espinal to go to another team where he deserves a little bit more playing time. But you guys let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about this trade projection? Could you see it realistically happening? And please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, guys, go Jays go!